was only yesterday we were back here and we were having children's church. And it's another opportunity for Captain Awesome to join you guys for children's church using the Jesus Storybook Bible. You know, I gotta be honest with you, I'm a little sad because I think we're having a lot of fun, but nothing compares to our awesome teachers. I miss Miss Catherine and Mr. Johnny Drake and Mr. Jason and Miss Christy Gilbert and Mr. Brian Borda and Miss Gretchen. I miss those guys. And Aaron Lyons and Brandon. Man, those guys are awesome. Don't you guys miss them? You miss having children's church? Well, you know what? I think we're going to be getting better pretty soon. I don't know when we're going to be able to actually meet together for children's church, but we might at least, Chapel God says we might in a couple of weeks be able to at least have church again. That would be awesome. You know, we're going to be talking about a lot of things. This is going to be talking about moving to one of my favorite stories, and that's about Moses. Yeah, you know, it's so awesome to talk about some new stories in the Bible. I feel like I should be telling you about something, though. I can't remember. I had this great example of what happens with Moses, and what? Oh! Yeah, that's right. This is my backpack. You know, I like to go in my backpack all the time. But I was thinking to myself, what would happen if somebody came over and they said, hey, Captain Awesome, you got like 5 minutes to get everything you need to help survive and go, and you just gotta leave. And you got to get your stuff up and go. And I thought, what would I want to take? What would be some important things for me to have? So I brought some things along here. Let's look at, whoa. This would be very important because, you know, the sun gets really hot. So I'd probably want to wear my safari hat because you never know what's going to happen and where they're going to tell you to go. Got to make sure you got your sunscreen. It's starting to get hot. You know, summer's right around the corner. So I'd have to take a little sunscreen. That'd be important too. Oh, it smells nice. You know, it might actually rain. So I got my raincoat because, you know, you got to make sure you're ready to go with no matter what. What else do we have in here? Let's see. Oh, you know, along with my raincoat, I got my umbrella. Because you never know, if it rains really badly, you want to be able to have something to put out there. Right? I think these are important things to have, you know, in case you got to take your last minute things. One thing I think I'd probably take, though, is I want to take a picture of Mrs. Awesome. She'd come with me, you know, because I'd miss her, and so I'd want to be able to have a picture of that. I don't really have a picture in here right now, though. Let's see if I brought anything else. One last thing. Oh, make sure I got my towel. Gotta wipe off my face. Let's see, what else would I bring if I had to go away really, really fast? Oh, I would bring my sleep sack. Well, that's about all I'd have, you know. If it was raining, I'd be ready for the rain. If it was really sunny, I'd have the sunscreen. And my safari hat. And you gotta have a towel, because, you know, you might want to wash your face, or, you know, you don't want to be too smelly. You gotta have the good old umbrella, right? And of course I got my rain jacket. I think I'd be ready if I had to go right away. A lot of times when we get ready to move, you know, a lot of us are getting ready to move from here and go to new places. But you have a lot of time. People come and they pack things up, and they pack things up for you, and they get them in a big crate. They take them all the way over to the other side of the ocean sometimes. You know, I know families that are getting ready to leave here, and they're going to be going back to the United States. Or they'll be coming here. Doesn't really matter. It's just, you know, that's something that's prepared. But in this story that we're going to talk about today, they weren't prepared. They had to leave really, really quickly. They had to take whatever they had, and they grabbed the most important things, of course, were their family. That's something I would hope they would have too. So I think we're going to read that story today. This is a story about Moses. Moses was called by God to lead the people of Israel out of Egypt into the promised land. So let's go ahead. All right, Mr. Cameraman, let's kind of come over here. We got a little story here. We're going to tell a story about Moses. I'm pretty excited about this. I think this is one of my favorite stories. The story is called God to the rescue. All right. There's Moses right there. Joseph and his brothers grew old and died. That's a story, by the way, that we're going to be telling you guys this summer when we have Vacation Bible School. You know, it's going to be a little bit different this year. But it's okay, because we're going to talk about Joseph and Jonah and Noah and Daniel and the lion's den. It's going to be an awesome time this summer. But anyways, this is like the rest of the story. After Joseph and his brothers grew old, their children's children stayed in Egypt, where they became a very large family. Later on, a new king began to rule, but this Pharaoh didn't remember Joseph, and he didn't like God's people. He made them into his slaves and beat them and made them work harder and harder. God's people cried out to God to rescue them, and God heard them. He remembered his promise to Abraham. He would look after his people. He would find a way to set them free. One day, Moses was looking after sheep when something caught his eye. A bush was behaving very oddly. It was flickering with flames, but its leaves weren't burning up. He took a closer look. "Moses!" boomed a big voice. Moses leapt back. The bush was talking to him. "I've heard my people's cries," God said. "I have seen their tears, so I have come down to rescue them. Go to Pharaoh and tell him to let my people go free." Moses was afraid, but God said, "I will be with you." So Moses went to Pharaoh. "Pharaoh," Moses began, "God says," "God," said Pharaoh, "never heard of him." Moses kept going. "God says, let his people go free." "Why should I?" Pharaoh said. "Don't want to. Won't." So he didn't. So God gave Pharaoh 10 warnings called plagues. First, God turned the river Nile into blood. No one could drink the water. But still Pharaoh would not let them go. So God made frogs come hopping and leaping and jumping. In your bed frogs, in your hair frogs, in your soup frogs, all over everywhere frogs. "Make them go away," Pharaoh screamed. "Then your people can go." So God took the frogs away. But Pharaoh changed his mind. "You can't go," he said. Then God sent zillions of gnats. But still, Pharaoh said no. Got a little thing here. Still, Pharaoh said no. So then God sent swarms of flies buzzing in your eyes, flies, and after that, sickness and horrible boils and huge hailstones and a storm of locusts, then darkness when it should not have any been day, until it seemed that the whole world, creation and everything was coming undone, falling back into darkness and emptiness and nothingness. But each time, Pharaoh said, "Make it stop and then I'll let them go." And each time, when God made it stop, Pharaoh changed his mind and said, "Actually, no, you can't go." Finally, Moses warned Pharaoh, "Obey God, or he will have to send the worst thing of all." Pharaoh just laughed. So God said, "The oldest boy in each family of Egypt must die, but my people will be safe." God told his people to take their best lamb, to kill it, and put some of its blood on their front doors. "When God passes over your house," Moses explained, "God will see the blood and know that the lamb died instead of you." That night, it was just as God had said. Suddenly, piercing the darkness, echoing down the corridors of the palace, came a blood-curdling scream. Pharaoh's oldest son had died. At last, Pharaoh did what God said. "Get out!" Pharaoh shouted. "Just go!" And so, that very night, Moses and God's people fled out of Egypt and out of slavery. They were free at last. God's people would always remember this great rescue and call it Passover. But an even greater rescue was coming. Many years later, God was going to do it again. He was going to come down once more to rescue his people. But this time, God was going to set them free forever and ever. Wow! That was an amazing story! You know, I think that when I made sure that I had to go really fast, just like the people in this picture right here. Look at that. They brought their camels. They brought the things that they could maybe wear, maybe some things from their house, but they had to go really fast. Moses is up there with his family, and they would lead their people out of Egypt. But that's not the rest of the story. Next week we'll tell a cool part of the story. But you know, I would make sure that I packed this up really, really good. And I do it really fast. And I get everything going. Because I'd be scared. I'd wonder, maybe Pharaoh's going to change his mind again. Put it on my back. And I'd head out the door. You know, maybe you'd have to do that too. But thankfully, right now, we're safe. And you know why? Well, that's the rest of the story. You know, in your activity sheet that you can print off with your mom and dad, it talks about this idea of a lamb. See, what they did is they had a dinner, and they would cook a lamb, and it was called the sacrificial lamb. That's actually one of my favorite things to eat. I like lamb chops. But lamb meatballs, those are good too. But they would say this, and it was to make people realize that this lamb that was slain for you, someday there would be an even greater lamb, and he would be known as Jesus, the Passover lamb that shed his blood for you and for me. Come on over here, Mr. Cameraman. I kind of want to show you over here my blackboard. Now, it's not really a blackboard. When I was a kid, we used to have a blackboard. We had chalk. Now we have like a whiteboard with markers. So much easier. Anyways, if you look over here, it kind of goes in line with our story here. You see, this is the door that God said you got to take some of the blood from the lamb and you got to sprinkle it over the top of the door and the doorpost. And then what was going to happen is the angel of death would come down and he would fly and he would see that this door had God's chosen people behind it. So he wouldn't take that firstborn. You know, it reminds me of why we're actually doing this. You see, Jesus was the firstborn son. Jesus was God's only son. And he would die for us someday. That would be the final sacrifice, dying on the cross so that we would have eternal life. So, we're going to do this together. Now, the easiest way to see it is you can look here, okay, this right here, this is the door, and you got the blood and stuff like that, but there's a special words right here, a little sentence down here. Now, the only way we can figure this out is if you take the Q's, the X's, and the Z's out of the sentence, right? Okay, so point out to me where we got some Q's. Okay, yep, we got this one. What else? Where's another Q? Another Q, okay, get rid of that Q. 2 Q's in a row, you're right. What about? Yep, a Q's right there. What else? Yep, there's a Q right there. And oh yeah, right back down here. Okay, we got a Q and another Q. Can you tell me get rid of all the X's? Let's get rid of all the X's. Yeah? On the end. Okay, good. What? All 2 X's right there. Getting rid of those. All right, right here. Good. It's the same one. Yep. Are there any more in this? I don't think there's any more. Oh no, there is. Oh yeah, you're right. Oh, there's lots of X's in that one. I see 2 X's here. How many more X's are left? 1? 2. That's right. We got 1 here and 1 here. Okay, we're almost done with this fun puzzle. I want you to see if you can get rid of the Z's. And then once we do, we can take what letters are left and we'll write them down. Okay. Yep, we got a Z right here and a Z right here. There's a Z here and a Z here. Where are some other Z's? You guys are telling me the ones that are at the bottom? Okay. Here and here. All right, let's go. I think there's 3 more. 3, yep, double right here, and double right here. All right. Now this is what we're going to do. We're going to take my trusty blue. You know, blue is one of my favorite colors. But also red, as you can tell. I do like a little red. Let's circle the letters that are left. We got a T, and an E, and an H, and an L, and an A, an M, and a B. Let's see. Got a D, an I, an E, and a D. Down here, I, N, S. I got a T. What else? Yep, we got an E. We got a D. An O, an F, an M, and an E. All right, let's write these down. T, H, E, L, A, M, B. My M's not very good there. Lamb, D, I, E, D, I, N, S, T, E, A, D. O, F, M, E. The Lamb died instead of me. That's right, everybody. The Lamb did die. He would be known as Jesus. That's what's exciting, is that when we say that Jesus is in every story in the Bible, that's really true. Just like the Passover would happen, God says, because of Jesus, I'm going to pass over all the wrong things that you've done. And because of Jesus, who's ever inside, who's ever part of Jesus, is given eternal life and they're forgiven for their sins. All you got to do is say, Jesus, I believe that you died for me. I believe that you died and took the place of my sins so that I could have life and life to the full. Well, Mr. Cameraman, that's about it for today. I think I'm going to take this bag and kind of head on out the door. Maybe I could go for a little hike. Got lots of great mountains around here. Until next time, I want to remind you that God thinks you're special and He loves you very much. He loves you so much that He sent His only Son who became the Lamb. The Lamb died instead of you and me so that we could have life and life to the full. Until next week, it's Captain Awesome.